The sky was a gentle gray that morning, with clouds lazily curling over the horizon like sleepy giants. On a telephone wire, a little sparrow named Chicky fluffed her feathers, basking in the breeze. She chirped softly, calling out to her siblings across the fields. But something in the air felt strange, the kind of silence that only comes before a storm. A single raindrop landed on her head. She tilted it curiously. The drop rolled down her beak, and she looked up. The sky had darkened suddenly, an ominous sheet of charcoal rolling across the heavens. Thunder grumbled low, like a beast waking from slumber. Chicky chirped again, louder this time, and took off. Chicky darted toward the large mango tree near the riverbank, her usual refuge. The branches were thick, strong, and layered with leaves. She'd hidden there from hawks and boys with slingshots. But today, the mango tree was not a haven. The wind shrieked through its leaves, tearing some away and bending branches down to the ground. Raindrops slashed sideways like arrows. Chicky tried to land, but the wind pushed her back. She flapped harder, grasping at twigs that snapped under her claws. It wasn't safe. She took off again, wings trembling. Further ahead, nestled in the rafters of a quiet, broken shed, was an old nest, a forgotten home from last spring. Chicky remembered the warmth, the tiny eggs, and her chirping hatchlings. Her heart pulled her there. She squeezed through a hole in the rotting wooden wall. The nest was still there, though sagging and damp. For a moment, she curled into it, hoping the memories would keep her warm. But water trickled through the ceiling, and the wind howled through the cracks. The storm had found her again. Outside, the storm raged on. Chicky fluttered low, struggling against the wind, until she spotted a small shack. In its doorway stood an old dog, shaggy and soaked, but calm. He watched the rain like an old poet reading sad stories in the wind. Chicky landed just beside him. The dog looked down, blinked slowly, and shifted his body to shield her from the gust. She nestled beside his paw, heart beating fast. For a few moments, there was peace, two creatures huddled together, finding warmth not in shelter, but in kindness. But then lightning struck nearby, and the dog barked, panicked, dashing inside. Chicky was alone again. The rain fell harder now, as if the sky itself had broken. Chicky's wings were soaked, heavy as stones. Each flap was a desperate push against gravity. She tumbled down into a field of tall grass. Mud splashed over her. She lay still for a moment, feathers flat, chest heaving. Above her, the world roared. She thought of her flock. Where were they now? Were they safe? Would they even notice she was gone? Then, with a shiver and a silent prayer to the wind, she stood and shook herself. She still had strength. She still had hope. Across the field stood a small hut with a light in its window, warm, flickering, and golden. Chicky flew, struggling, toward it. She landed on the windowsill, soaked and shivering. Inside, a little boy sat by the fire, reading. He looked up and gasped. His mother came quickly, and together they opened the window just enough to place a tiny wooden box lined with cloth on the sill. Chicky stepped inside, uncertain. The box was dry. It smelled of warmth and cinnamon. The window closed gently, and she watched them from behind the glass. The boy smiled and waved. Chicky, for the first time since the rain began, felt safe. As thunder rolled in the distance, Chicky tucked her head under her wing. Sleep came slowly, bringing dreams of sun-drenched skies, ripe berries, and cool streams. She flew in those dreams, light as wind, laughing in chirps with her flock. She remembered her mother's lullabies, the scent of rain before it falls, the warmth of dry grass beneath her claws. The storm outside faded into a soft murmur. Inside, the fire flickered like a memory, a promise that storms end. By dawn, the sky had lightened. Clouds still loomed, but their bellies were empty. The rain had slowed to a whisper, and wind had curled into a breeze. The boy returned to the window. He opened it slowly. Chicky blinked against the soft light. She hopped onto the sill. The world smelled fresh, soaked but alive. She looked back at the boy, chirped a note of thanks, and flew out. Up in the sky, a faint chorus of chirps echoed. Chicky's heart leapt. She rose higher and higher, scanning the horizon, and there they were. Her flock, wheeling through the air like ribbons of sound and color. They circled her, chirping excitedly. She was welcomed, embraced by wings and voices she knew so well. She twirled and danced with them in the golden post-storm light, feathers drying in the sun. Later that evening, from high atop a branch, Chicky watched the world below. The field, the hut, the river, all glistened from the rain. A single feather drifted from her wing, caught the breeze, and danced away into the dusk. Storms would come again. Winds would rise. But so would she. For now, the world was calm, and her heart was full. Feathers in the rain.